We haven't seen him since last Wednesday. Today, the Prime Minister visited a hospital in North London, and today at least, he was listening to what his staff were telling him.
Try lying down on this one?
No! But did he listen for that now infamous party of May 20th, 2020? He was asked if he'd been warned in advance that party might break the COVID rules.
I can tell you categorically, that nobody told me and nobody said that this was something that was against the rules, that was a breach of the COVID rules, or we were doing something that wasn't a work event, because frankly I don't think, I can't imagine why on earth it would have gone ahead or why it would have been allowed to go ahead.
And see how uncomfortable he is when asked about possible parties the night before Prince Philip's funeral.
I apologise to the Queen about those parties the night before she put her husband of over 70 years, she laid him to rest. Was that a moment of shame for you?
I deeply and bitterly regret that happened, and I can only and renew my apologies both to Her Majesty and to the country for misjudgments that were made and for which I take full responsibility.
One of those misjudgments, he admits, was spending some time at that event organised by his principal private secretary, Martin Reynolds. And there are now two versions of what happened before the party on May 20th, 2020. And they can't both be right. This was what Boris Johnson said last Wednesday.
I believed implicitly that this was a work event.
But in a blog, Dominic Cummings writes, I said to the PM something like, Martin's invited the building to a drinks party. You've got to grip this madhouse. The PM waved it aside. He goes on to write, the events of 20th of May alone, never mind the string of other events, mean the PM lied to Parliament about parties. Not only me, but other eyewitnesses who discussed this at the time would swear under oath that this is what happened. Today, his official spokesman has said it's untrue the Prime Minister was warned in any way about the event beforehand. Today, also a rare sighting of the Chancellor. He'd surfaced to talk about jobs, but if the Prime Minister had lied to Parliament, should Boris Johnson lose his?
Well, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. The ministerial code is clear on these matters, but as you know, Sue Gray is conducting an inquiry into the situation. I think it's right that we allow her to conclude that job. Thanks very much. Thanks.
Unequivocally.
And that was enough of that.
Your microphone.
Oh, gosh, thank you.
Boris Johnson seemed visibly worn down today, but like the rest of us, he must wait for the report into all this and then the verdict of his MPs.
Let's join Andy in Westminster now. And Andy, Dominic Cummings has made no secret of the fact that he'd like to see the back of Boris Johnson. But how damaging, really, are these claims that he warned the PM it was not a good idea to have a party?
Well, Sian, in the eyes of many people, Dominic Cummings is a very discredited figure because of the Barnard Castle incident, and a lot of Conservative MPs, frankly, can't stand him. So it certainly wouldn't be enough for Dominic Cummings just to assert something, and that would be the end of the story. But I think the point about this blog he's written is that it focuses in on this issue about whether the Prime Minister misled, lied to MPs, about whether he'd been warned in advance that that party back in 2020 might break the COVID rules. Now, the Prime Minister's been adamant that nobody told him about that in advance. Dominic Cummings says that he was warned in advance. And I think if any new piece of evidence comes to light, perhaps in that report that we're expecting from the senior civil servant Sue Gray in the next few days, if a new piece of evidence comes to light which appears to back up Dominic Cummings' side of the story, then I think that could be very dangerous for the Prime Minister.